I've come up to the bees again this afternoon because I noticed yesterday, just in a passing visit, there was something odd going on. I don't know if you can see, but on the bottom of that hive there's a bunch of bees, which looks like a swarm. And they were there yesterday, and I thought, well, leave them overnight and see what happens. And they're still there again today, so it does look like a swarm. So I'm going to see if I can catch them. And because they are in the recess, I needed something to be able to scoop them. So I've made this out of an old cat food box. This bit here is just the right width to slide it into the recess. So I can slide this along slowly and try and scoop them up into there, and hopefully they'll go into the box, maybe. And then I can kind of close this up, maybe tape it, and then leave them to go in. There's a little hole there that they might be able to go into. Just leave it on the ground for a bit and see what happens. To try and stop them from flying away too much, I've got this. It's just a garden sprayer, but I filled it full of sugary water. So it'll make them a little bit sticky, and they'll be licking, the sugar off each other. But I'm going to need to put my bee suit on as well. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is quite a small, really tiny swarm. It's probably not really going to be viable, but we'll give them a chance. There's a saying, apparently, a swarm in May is worth a load of hay, a swarm in June is worth a silver spoon, and a swarm in July, and it's middle of July now, swarm in July isn't worth a fly. So they may not even make it through the winter if we do catch them, but we'll give them a go and see what happens. And here's some of the other equipment. So there's a hive tool and some tape and scissors. That'll be to stick the box down. There's a tablecloth which I'll spread on the floor to put the box onto. There's a brush which I'm hoping I might be able to use to brush any straggling bees into the box, and some shears to be able to chop some of the grass down, because there's some quite long grass there which is going to get in the way. It's a bit of a pain because the software on my phone updated a while back, and it used to kind of remember whether you were on photo or video, but now every time you start it up again it just goes back to photo, so I couldn't really take anything while I was doing it. But I've moved them what I could into the box. There are still some hanging around on there, so I'm going to have to hope that the queen's not in that lot and that she's in this box instead. And actually there are quite a few hanging around the outside. You can see their bottoms are in the air and they're fanning. That means that they're trying to attract the others into the box, because that's where the queen is. So if that's where the queen is, the others ought to follow eventually, and we'll catch them all in the box. And then I've got to find somewhere to put them, which might be this box here that's got a wasp on top of it. Oh, actually that's not a wasp, that's something that's pretending to be a wasp, so it doesn't get eaten. But yeah, I might have to try and put them into here. Well, it's about, I guess, half an hour later, and they've all come off of the side of the hive, and they're all heading into the box, hopefully. They look like they're heading into the box anyway. And I've just weighted it down a little bit, and I've tipped it up a bit so that it's up at one end. Hopefully if they all go in there tonight, then what we'll do is we'll move them when it gets to quite late at night tonight. We'll chuck them into another box. And I've taken one of the feeders off one of the other hives because they're not using them at the moment. And this is the box I want to put them in. There are two empty frames in there. They've seen better days, although one of them was only made last year, but they've never actually been used, so I'll put those in. But so a couple of frames. I've got one other frame already made. Make another two. That should be enough. Come back to put them away, put them in the box. Take all those frames out and just chuck them in the hole.